All right, so here's something I've labeled as an HTTP server. What's different about it? Anything? Do you see anything in here HTTP? We were looking at TCP servers. Is there anything in here that's HTTP? That's what we were using before, right? Listen, make it our listener and accept it. And defer close the listener. Handles just a function name. I could have called that Crazy Cowboy. So we're just passing the connection onto another function. That other function will scan that connection, give us a scanner, and then go through and go over all the lines in it and then print them out. This is labeled like HTTP servers or anything different from the TCP servers we were looking at before. No, there's not, right? It's pretty much like a TCP server. And TCP underlies HTTP, so this is what we use. Let's look at the instructions. Start main, and then in your browser go to localhost 80 here, and change out of this. Go into golang webdev 016.01, go run main, and then go in our browser to localhost 8080. And it's just running. But look at what came up. I'll clear it up if I do it. There's a crazy nice breeze coming in right now. Feels great. So weird in Fresno, feel breeze. And so look at what it printed out. A request came in from my browser to the server. Okay, so let's look at that. Listen on port 8080 TCP. And then accept anything that comes in and pass that here. So something came in, a request came in, scan that request, loop over all the tokens, and for each token, each line, print out the text of that line. All right? And then when you're all done doing that, close the connection and stop. So a request came in, and this is what I got back. And so the first line was that request line, get /HTTP1. If we were looking at the response line, the status line, it would be HTTP1 status code and then some phrase, right? But then the host, localhost 8080, and then the headers, it has all the headers. And then if there's a payload, there'd be an empty line and then the payload. But there's not. So that's and it came through twice. Even though I requested it once, it came through twice. It's kind of interesting. What would have happened if I'd run my first program? Can I call this one just from telnet? Like, let me run this one, and then telnet localhost 8080. Escape character. Nothing's happening. What's happening over here? Those are printing out. So as the client sends something to the server takes what was sent to it and just prints it out. So when I'm in my browser and send stuff to the server, it's just taking it and printing it out. And then my browser just requested again. It's sitting back here spinning, hey, are you available now? So that's probably why we saw things twice. Isn't that interesting? So here's the first TCP one we looked at. The first one's on the write. Listen, accept, write string, close. Listen, accept, and now we're passing the connection here, and we're just scanning over it and printing out what's coming in, and then closing it. What would have happened if we'd gone to this program from our browser instead of from Telnet, right? Anybody curious? Or are you guys just all like, I'm done? I'm curious. So let's see, that is what file? That's 015 01. And let's go there from our browser. Can't be reached. This thing on 8080. I thought I might try to print back to the browser somewhere that at least sent some text back, but I've never tried that. Let's make sure that's just the one that we're running. Telnet local host 8080. Yeah. $15, $16. All right, so let's build on that. So listening, so servers, that's kind of surprising to me. HTTP servers are just TCP servers, where you listen on a TCP port, 8080, and then you accept the connection, and then let's handle that connection. So we create our own handle function, and defer every connection. You want to close it, so defer, close. Defer just means that when this function exits, then we'll close it. And then buff.io scanner, that connection, give us a scanner. Scan over it, right? And print out the line, and then print a line. So print the text for each line that came in, and then just print the whole, no, here we're getting the line, then we're printing the line, sorry. And if I is equal to 0, so if this is the first time through, we're going to check the method, right? So strings, fields, ln, 0. So we've learned that strings fields, we'll take a string and give us the fields. Let's see that in action. Let's go to golang, golang playground. And s colon equals string and Hemingway quote farewell for no what's the one, sun also rises. I want to read chapter 1. Whatever, I'm going to use this. Okay, so there's my string. And I could do my string split up is colon equals string strings.fields s right? And then I could say format print line XS. Which word do you want? Sun also rises. How about this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm going to get 1926. Or not. Unexpected recognized at end of statement. XS, print line S. I need this. No, I don't. Do I have quotes in there? I have quotes in there. So I could avoid that by using backticks. So if there's any more in there, it'll escape them. Run. Undefined strings in strings field format will bring in the strings package. Whoa. Right? Took my string and broke it up. If I wanted to have fun, for index value colon equals range XS format dot print line I comma V it's amazing. So here I broke it all up, right? Broke my string all up into a slice. And I say, give me what's at position 0. Well, what's coming in at position 0? If we go back and look at that other one that just ran, change directories 0, 0, 16, 0, 1, go run main. Right? The first thing is that method in my request line. So if I get that method, right, I could assign it to method. That's the very first word that comes back or that comes in a request. And I could check out that method. And so, you know, and then I iterate that. And let's just see what happens when we run this one. Control C. Where am I? A02 HTTP server change into V02. So this, and then check out the method get, and then the rest of it. And then it asks for the fave icon, right? So the browser made another request to get the fave icon. So that's this right here. Printed the first line, and then it got the word and printed that, and then it printed all the rest of the lines. So if we're able to get the method, we can start to do stuff. So listen, accept, handle connection, scan it, right? Loop through all the stuff that came in, get the method if we're the first time through. Otherwise, we're in the headers. And when the line is empty, right, when we're done with the headers, we're going to break this. And then we have a response down here, which we assign to body. It's a string, you know. And then we write the next thing. Here's our response line, which is the version, the number, the status code, status phrase, and then carriage return, line feed. And then here we're doing headers, content length is the length of body, content type, text HTML. And then we write our return line feed, carriage return line feed, and then we write our body. So we wrote all of our headers, we wrote our body, we sent our payload back, right? So we got all this stuff and found out our method and then did all of our stuff back. And so now we're starting to build our own server. And you got to hang out. I know that you're kind of getting like unpacked up, but I hardly ever keep you this late. Next time I'll let you go early. I know you guys kept me late last week. I was like 7 o'clock. I'm like, okay, is that good? You guys are like, well, let's work for an hour. Remember? I was like, all right, is that good? You guys ready to go? I was like wiped out last week. And you can see the headers that we've set right? We set headers, content length. Why am I not? The content length, response headers, content type, text HTML.
You will review this next week.
Probably. Content type, text HTML. And then, you know, taking it the next step. What's different here? Content type, location. Oh, this is just a redirect. So it's a location header. So that just redirects me to Google. It's kind of interesting to see. So that's the HTTP server. And then there's a hands-on. Create a server that returns the URL of the GET request. So I'm going to give you this homework. Okay? And I'm showing you all that just to show you what's possible. And I'm showing it to you because the guy who taught me this, who was Caleb Doxey, who's like, you know, I'm only 3 years into programming, and he's been programming like a long time and studied comp sci. He's a really talented guy. But I'm showing it to you because he showed it to us. And he's like, this is how you could do it all from scratch. And guess what? You could also just use listen and serve. And it's all done for you. Right? So it's just a bit of a tour. And then next week we'll explore listen and serve. And we'll explore what handlers are. And I said, look, if I have something that has this method, it's implementing the handler interface. Listen and serve wants a handler. A handler has to have this method, right? Well, I created an int. And then I attached this method to it. And that turned my int, right, my handler, which is any type. I just called it type my handler. That turned that into handler, and I passed it there. There's not even anything in there. And it's all like, oh, that's fine code. You know, so the next step might be to, you know, do a write string back to the response and show hello world. To an int. I made a handler out of something which underlying type is an int. Trippy. Right? Because all this needs is a handler. And for something to be a handler, it just needs to have this method attached to it. So for the homework, create a server that does that. We're just learning, like, you know, kind of like everything going on behind the scenes. But here's like to do a server that returns the URL, right? We have to find, like, where is that URL in a request? And it's like we got the method, right? And that was at position 0. And then way back here, in understanding servers, the request response, was it in here? It's the method and then the URL. And so all you have to do is take the code that got the method, and you want the next in line, and that's the URL. So the homework was to create a server that returns the URL of the GET request. That's just the next thing in line. So do that. You know, start not with the solution, but with If I could close it. So the homework is right here. Start with this one, the HTTP server, and just get it to throw out the URL. So that's 16.3. Sweet 16. You can remember it now. See you next week. Let's all walk out together so we don't get mugged.